right, so I appreciate you guys being here. And again, take some notes. And if you are watching this recording, I really think taking some notes would be helpful as well, because these are kind of things that I would like write down and put it in my tennis bag, and like in between a changeover. That's when you might want to look at it and go, oh yeah, that's right. This might help, right? So I do this is just as a background. I have been really into this for many, many years, and I even wrote part of my book on the mental game. So what I did 2 years ago is I really wanted to like really harness my mental coaching and really like see what else is out there other than through books and my own experience. So I reached out to a guy named Jeff Greenwald, and he is a mastermind with mental coaching. He coaches professionals and aspiring, Division I tennis players. And I learned a lot through him, and it kind of helped me find out what I was capable of, because I kind of have a unique background that Jeff noticed. And one thing about our partnership, it turned out to be, was I helped him rebuild his courses. As a teacher, I kind of have a different background than most tennis instructors. So, the learning part, Jeff knows what to say, but I kind of have a good idea of how to present it. So I went through the courses and I learned a lot, obviously, and I worked with some of his clients and kind of learned his platform. But then I kind of took what he did and I put it more into what I felt was more doable for players that maybe aren't professional, but are, recreational players, aspiring college players. And from my own experience, I do this through playing a lot of matches and take notes of how I'm feeling and when do I play well, what are my thoughts and all that. So this is a little more unique. So this is my own blend of what I've learned through my own experience, through Jeff, and just working with clients too, and things that conversations I have with people. I'm like, oh yeah, we kind of come up with some thoughts. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good idea. So here it is. Okay. So one thing that Novak Djokovic does very well is his mental game. And I know some people, it's a polarized player. Sometimes people don't like him. Some people love him. You can't deny he's really good. And one thing that I've learned, and this is one thing I would start writing down. I didn't even put this in the notes, but some things just come to mind is, I mentioned this to a few people even today, is the the good players, they win. Winning comes from all of the points between the good points, right? So you could ace someone, right? And you're feeling really good, as a great shot, and then you miss your first serve on the second point, and then you hit a second serve and you kind of dink it over, and then you lose the points because you missed the backhand, right? And then the third point, you double fault. It's 15-30, and then you hit a really good forehand winner and it's 30 all, and then you miss these routine shots and you lose the game, right? Those routine shots is what wins the matches. It's not those amazing shots. So that's the mental part of like, let go of the really good shots your partner, your opponent hits, because those are not going to win you the match. You're never going to play someone that just constantly just hits winner after winner, that there's nothing you can do. It's all about the routine shots that happen between those really good shots. And that's for you too. So when you're hitting really good shots, that's when you got to really stay mentally focused, because double faults statistically happen after you ace someone, right? Because we lose focus of what the whole mentality of our game plan is, because we get caught up in these really amazing shots. But that will not win you matches. And I guarantee you, if you're a coach, watch the next match of your number one singles player and tell me how many great shots there were, or even tell me how many routine shots there that ended, the points that ended on routine shots between all the good shots. I bet you there was like, I don't know, depends on the level, but 5 to 10 shots, points that ended on routine. And then obviously a good shot here, a good shot there, right? So that's the first thing I would mention. But Now we're going to go into the mental traps. And I mentioned 5 mental traps. I'm going to give you guys a couple more. I mentioned 5 tips. I'm going to give you more. So I'm going to over deliver here. And the first thing I want to mention is you are not alone. You have to remember that when you are playing, you're human. The player over there is human. They have these feelings too. And if you start isolating yourself from these moments, you're going to it's really lonely, and it's feels like you're alone and you don't have any answers. You have to realize everyone goes through this. And also, when you get really good at the mental game, you're going to realize that the other side, you're like, oh my gosh, I see what they're doing. They're struggling, right? They just missed an overhead and they're losing confidence. All I need to do is get this ball in a few balls, and they're going to lose this point because you see it, right? So it's not only about you, but like when you master the game, you're going to be able to see this in others as well. Okay. So here are my top mental traps. I'm going to go through them. I'm not really going to say, hey, here's how you fix them. We'll go through some tips that will have well, that might cover more than one of them or one of them at a time. So it's not just like, here's a problem, here's a fix. I think here are some mental traps you're going to go into, and then here are some things that some tips can get you through them, because you might run into more than just one of these. Okay. So the first like making sure we're like on those mental trap like platform, like make sure we're on the right mindset, is we got to know like why we have thoughts in the first place. And first of all, even more specifically, we have 60,000 thoughts a day. And I could go into a room when I coach players, with the mental game. I go, okay, everyone, for 30 seconds, I want you to stop. And you could even stop this recording if you're not watching this live. And you could just stop for 30 seconds and see if you can just stop thinking, like stop having a conversation with yourself. And it's impossible. It's impossible. And that is why, like, when we do meditation, we're trying to focus our thoughts on one thing at a time. And it's really hard to do that. And so meditation helps you work on your focus. Like, I'm going to focus on my breath, breathe in, breathe out. And then in between those breathe in, breathe out thoughts, you're going to have a thought about dinner, a thought about this, a noise is going to distract you. And then you got to refocus. So meditation statistically doesn't really just affect, like, help you with like the focus. It helps you with refocusing, because you're so in tune to what you need to focus on. When you're off chart, you go, oh, I'm off, I'm gonna go back on, right? So that's the first thing you got to understand, is you're always going to have conversations. You can't stop them. Okay. And over 60% of our language as an English speaker is negative. I don't know if you knew that either. So we are in tune to be speaking negatively, and then our thoughts are obviously going to be negative. And also, the other science behind this is our brain is trying to keep us safe. So oddly as it sounds, it's like it doesn't want you to do risks, like even risks, like with your mind, like trying to hit a ball hard. Your brain's like, oh, you don't want to do that, because it thinks danger is looming. It doesn't decipher between, a tiger chasing you and you missing a forehand. You can feel the same thing, right? So you have to understand that your brain is trying to protect you, and that's why it's telling you, like, ease off. You don't want to miss this shot. And once you start understanding the science behind all this, it might help you give the courage to go for it, because there's really nothing to fear. Your brain is telling you all these things, and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't true. This is okay. I'm okay. I can do this. It's just tennis. But until you start realizing that it gets scary, right? And we all go through those thoughts. But once you start realizing your brain is just trying to protect you, you're going to be good. Okay. So let's go with the mental traps now. I keep saying I'm going to do it. All right, I'm going to do it. Okay. So the first mental trap is trying to play your best every time. And your best meaning, like, I am going to hit my best shot every time I hit. And what you need to start thinking about, if you want to be a real good a gamer, I call it. A gamer is someone goes, okay, that person over there can hit a ball, at a certain clip, right? And then they can hurt me when I hit this certain ball. Okay? So anything over, let's just give it I'm warming up with this person. I realize that I need to hit a 5 out of 10 to keep a neutral rally. Okay. 5 out of 10. So anything more than that is not necessary unless I want to risk missing because, once we get into 7 and 8 and 9 out of 10, we're going to be risking our game more. So I need to start assessing how good my opponent is. So if I only need a 6 out of 10 to win the match, just stay steady and be 6 out of 10. No need to be 10 out of 10. Now, 10 out of 10 is fun, right? Like hitting these amazing shots, but it's risky and you're going to miss a lot. Now, then you start assessing like everybody you play is at a, slightly different level. So what level do you need to play to beat this person? Oh, they're like attacking short balls more and they're like attacking me more. Okay, I'm going to have to play a 7 or 8 out of 10. But then you have to start realizing you are going to miss more. And it's because your opponent has upped your game, has made you up your game. But you have to be careful with this because did your opponent make you up your game or is it just your ego trying to up your game? Meaning, oh, I need to hit a better ball than this. I need to hit, like, why do you need to hit a better ball? Is it just to feed your ego into like say you're a good player or is it really because your opponent is forcing you to do that? Now, if your opponent's forcing you to do that, that's fine. But I feel like we jump on a court and just assume we got to play 10 out of 10. And that's so hard to do. Like I've rarely played 10 out of 10. And when I do, I'm talking about effort, by the way, like hit the ball as hard as I can and, train, try to like push and all that. Maybe when I'm training, I'll do that. But in a match, oh my goodness, I'll miss a lot of balls, a lot of balls. So, what is your threshold? Like the high level players, like the Division 1 players, they're probably at an 8 or 9 and can sustain an 8 or 9. And they're able to keep that well because their opponents are doing an 8 or a 9. They have to. But do we need to? So I think you need to start assessing what that looks like so that you can win those matches that you're afraid to lose because you're like, oh my gosh, this player is a pusher. This player doesn't play well. Well, that's probably because you're stepping up. You're trying too hard. So that's the first thing I would do is have a balance between pace and consistency where you are not allowing your opponent to hurt you, but also you're not hurting yourself. And that's tricky. That's going to take some time to practice. Okay. The next one is having expectations. So I feel like when you get, I mean, I say expectations, they ruin your tennis game, but they also ruin relationships. When you expect things, now there's certain thresholds, obviously. Like in a tennis match, I'm not going to get into relationships here, but like I'm going to have expectations, but not on the outcome. So yes, I'm going to expect myself to try really hard, have a really good attitude, those I expect myself to do. I'm representing myself, and maybe I'm playing for a school. I'm representing my school. I'm playing for an indoor facility that I play at or I teach at. Okay, I'm gonna honor them. My family, a team I play for. Like sure, I'm going to have expectations that I'm going to play with good sportsmanship and things I can control. But when I miss a forehand in the net, do you think I really wanted to miss a forehand in the net? Like, of course not. And that's why having expectations as a coach is tricky too, because and a parent and a teammate, you got to realize that nobody on the court's trying to miss, including yourself. Okay. So you have to realize, okay, I can't control certain things, right? And then that's why routines are so important. Just a side note here is like players get mentally exhausted from tennis because you could play the most amazing point of your life and lose the point. You could play a really good match and lose. You have no control over who is on the other side of the net. And that could be exhilarating and also frustrating at the same time. You're like, I played my best match. Like let's say you're playing a tournament, you win the first round and you play like crap, but you still win, right? Because your opponent wasn't so good. The next match you play amazing and you lose. But their opponent's really good. You can't expect winning and losing. You just got to go, did you play hard? Did you have a good attitude? And did you have good sportsmanship? And like that's good. But then the routines too keep you sane because you have something you can grasp onto. Like, why does Nadal never step on a line when he goes to the changeovers? If you have never noticed that, he doesn't step on a line because we humans need to have things we control. And if you're out of control, like you're losing these points, 50-50 on matches that are really close, it can be berserko to on your mind. So you got to like, okay, I can bounce the ball. I can breathe. I can go through my routine before I play. And there I satisfy my inner being of needing control. Because tennis, you don't have control over the point. Okay. So expectations, let them go, and then kind of just start thinking, like this is kind of exhilarating. I don't know what's going to happen now. I'm kind of excited for the outcome instead of like predicting the outcome or having expectations about the outcome, right? Instead, I'm like, I don't know what it's going to be. It's kind of exciting. I kind of want to just play it out and see how it goes. Okay. Next mental trap. We do this a lot. We use our past to justify our future. Oh, I just double faulted. Here goes. I'm going to double fault this one, like using your fortune telling. You're thinking about the future. And usually we use fortune telling as a negative, and that's why I call it a mental trap because not many people are going, I just hit a great shot. I'm going to hit another great shot the next point. It's kind of funny how we could easily do that though, right? But instead we go, oh, remember that last shot we did? Or that last match, I was serving for the match just like this exact moment, and I lost. I'm probably going to do it again. Well, guess what? You're probably going to do it again. You're going to do whatever you tell yourself to do. So you have to start being careful about using, negative fortune telling. Now, if you want to tell yourself, hey, the good things are about to happen, that's great. But I'm talking about the negative part. So this is where we got to stop doing that. And I'll give you tips on how to do this, but you got to identify that you're doing it in the first place. If you don't even realize you're doing it, then you're going to have a really rough go because if you can't identify, you can't like fix it. Okay. So I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. A lot of people do it. I'm not going to keep dwelling on this one. Okay. Next one, the should have. Hey, how did your match go? Oh, I should have won. I mean, you're in the middle of a match. I should have won that point. I can't believe it. I should be winning this match. How am I losing this match? Right? And it's all about your ego, right? So you shoulda, I should have. And when I hear that from someone, I just know that, hey, we all do it. First of all, we're all human and we're just protecting our ego. We're like, I'm better than this. A side note to this is like, you ever wonder why I'm part of this, by the way. We shout and scream sometimes after we lose a point and we're trying to tell the world, hey, we're better than this, and you like protect your ego. I'm mad because, hey, I could have done better than that. I want everyone to know that. That's why I'm going to hit my racket on the ground. I'm going to do a little tantrum. I want everyone to know that I'm better than this, right? So you got to be careful with that, right? That like tennis is hard and you have to be humble, and we'll talk about that later. Okay? Next one is on mind reading. This one is really really tough on people because they're always thinking others are thinking about them in a negative connotation. Like, for example, you miss a ball and you see your teammates are watching and you think, oh God, they think I suck. Or you double fault and you think your partner is like, oh, here we go again. I have this really crappy partner now, right? Like you're always thinking about what other people are thinking, and it's usually a negative thing. It's never like everyone's cheering me on. They must love me, even though they do. You know, you're thinking of all these bad things, and you don't want to like, especially in doubles, you don't want to like keep missing because you feel bad for your partner because you're afraid that they think badly of you, right? So this is a tricky one. It's tough. Okay. So you just have to we'll get into it, but you got to realize you're doing it in the first place, right? Okay. Next one is having that all or nothing mentality. You know, either it's all good or all bad. Hey, did you win your match? No. Did you play well? Yeah, but no, I didn't play well. Like more I think about it, no, I played awful. And you're thinking because losing means bad, winning means good. It's either all good or all bad, you know? And this makes it really hard to improve. That's why this is such a tough mental trap. If you're not improving, why are you playing tennis in the first place? I mean, like for me, I think it's like super fun because it's so freaking hard, right? And so you have to like have some silver linings, you know? Taylor Dent was a top 40 player in the world, did a conference years ago and that I attended. And he was like, silver linings help me stay sane on the tennis court, meaning like, I'm just going to try to do this one thing in my tennis match. And if I do it, it's called a win, right? And if I win the match, great. But those are the things that are beyond my control. So all or nothing is definitely a mental trap. Now, before I get into the tips on how, like, okay, kind of like, all right, Ben, great. I know these are bad, but what do I do about them? Right? I want to make sure if we have any questions. So I'm going to leave it up to anybody to unmute themselves. Did anything not make sense? I'll give it a quick moment there. Cool. Looks like I did an okay job presenting those. So, and I'll take questions at the end too. So now I'm going to get into some tips. Okay. And this is where you definitely want to write down some of these. Some of them are pretty unique. I kind of thought of them myself in a way because I need to do them myself too. Okay. This is my favorite one. I'm going to start with my number one. If you don't do this, and those people my age might know this song. Little Ice Cube for you. But if you don't do this, all the other things won't work for you. And this is so important. So what I mean by check yourself before you wreck yourself is basically is you need to call yourself out if you are not doing the right focus points, okay? So if you have any of those mental traps or you're daydreaming about something, you need to be the first step is going, "Oh, I am doing this mental trap. Oh, I'm watching the court next door or next to the next court. I'm watching them play. Oh, I'm looking at the sky. I'm not even, I don't even know what's going on. Oh, I don't even know what the score is. You need to call yourself out because if you don't do that, how can you even do these other tips? Right? How do you even know you're in a mental trap in the first place? So you need to be a big boy or a big girl and go, hey, this is not productive. I need to stop it. That's the first step. And you need to like be a grown up about it. Don't be a child, right? And I'm just going to call you out on this because you got to call yourself out on this. Okay? That's a huge one to do. And you got to be mature enough. And you got to tell if as a coach, you got to tell your players, hey, like this behavior is not appropriate. You need to stop it immediately and we need to move on to something productive, right? And that's something you got to tell yourself as well. Okay. Now, these are not in any order, but I just like some of these help me too. Okay. So I play with a lot of players from different countries, and I think that's one of the coolest things about tennis is like you can meet so many people from different countries, and they help me with perspective really well. And like when we're playing, we play matches, they're tough, but we always come back and connect between games or connect between matches, and we're human. So that's the first thing I noticed with them is like the more they are human and not robotic, and they play better. They play really well when you do that. You realize the other person over there is human. Hey, nice hustle, good try. Oh, nice shot. Like like you're giving compassion to the player over there because you're doing something together very difficult, very difficult. And the other thing is, then the other part is do it to yourself. Be human to yourself. Like you're going to miss. That's the beauty of being human, making mistakes. If you never made a mistake, how boring life would be. Oh my God. Oh, that sounds like an awful experience. I know a lot of you are like, wait a minute, what, really? As you get older, you realize mistakes are like, that's how you get better. And that's how you like be wise. You'll never learn anything if you don't make mistakes. So you need to when you jump on the court and play your next tennis match, you need to give yourself permission to miss Okay, that's one of my favorite lines. Give yourself permission to miss. And it's okay to be human, but also on the other side of the net, there's a human over there. Be compassionate to them. The more you do that, I think the more you play better. I do, at least, because I'm not so hard on myself. I naturally am nicer to myself when I go, nice hustle. And then I'm like, you know what? I kind of hustled pretty well there too myself. All right, So that it goes twofold. So I think that's important to understand. Be human. Set intentions helps you with your focus. Okay. So different ways of thinking about intentions. The first one could be like, I have this routine. So a bell goes off in my head after every point, and I'm like, all right, reset it. Okay, I'm going to go to this process. I'm not going to go too specific with this, but I'm going to go through this process to get my mind on the next point. And I'm having intention with this process. So I'm intentional. I'm going to bounce the ball a few times. I'm going to take a breath. I'm being very intentional between points. I'm being very intentional during points with my targets. I'm not just hitting a ball, because if I just hit a ball, the ball will influence where I'm hitting it. If I don't have intention to hit it to a certain shot, then the ball's just going to dictate where, like how the ball comes to me is going to dictate where I hit the ball going back. If I don't prepare and, like cross court, I got to be early. I got to set up early. I'm being intentional. The person's coming in that I'm going to lob. I have a target in mind, and like between points. So between and during points, if you're intentional, where else is your mind then? You know what I mean? So let's say you're in a mental trap and then you realize you're fortune telling. Call yourself out and then stick to your routine and stick to a target. Your mind can only focus on one thing at a time. That's actually really important. I knew things would just pop out as I talked. That's a really important tip. I'd write that one down just to know you can't focus on more than one thing. So if you're going, oh, I'm doing the fortune telling, okay, call yourself out. Now I'm going to reset my focus to targets. If I'm really focusing on my target, the guy's serving at me, I'm going to target. My target is the server. I'm going to serve. I'm going to return the ball at the server. How can I focus on anything else? Okay. So set intentions. This one was, I just kind of thought about this one, and it helps me play better tennis too, because I kind of get tied up with the match meaning so much. It's like it means so much. I don't know why. I don't know if you're on the same page, but like these practice match. And a lot of my friends do the same thing. Like they'll throw their racket in the middle of a match. It doesn't matter. We're playing a practice match and we get so into it, right? And I remind myself that nobody cares. Like nobody really cares. I don't care what kind of match you're playing. And I'll do like, look, these are snapshots of, I think 12, about 12 hours, actually about 14 hours worth. And I would just go on ESPN and randomly just click, go on the head pages and see what they have, right? So the first one had, the Lakers had a playoff game and they just won. Okay. About an hour later, they go right to that went down. It went down to like not even the head page anymore. And okay, now we got the Golden State match going on. Okay. Golden State lost. Now they're talking about, oh, right, Golden State lost. Here's a thing about them. And then the next one, someone's getting banned from playing the NBA. Like all these headlines just get pushed down after a couple hours. They don't matter. And I know that's a hit to our ego, and you want things to matter, but the moment matters. That's what matters, the moments. Life, you don't remember all these little things. The ones that like your memories, you remember the things you stayed in the moment for because they're meaningful. And that's why it's so important to understand, like, your match doesn't matter about the past. Like tomorrow, this match doesn't matter. What matters is now, my moment. This is my moment to enjoy and be in the moment. When I'm in the moment, that's like why, like, you think about why dogs are so happy, they're always in the moment. They're not dwelling on, oh, I didn't get my walk yet, you know? They're like, they're in the moment. They love to see you. That's why we love our dogs, right? Just an example. They're in the moment. And you see them sad when when you're not there. Because they're not in the moment. They're like, oh, I want to see my owner. I want to see my owner. When are they coming? Fortune telling, fortune telling. And then they're there, present, I'm happy, right? So this reminds me to stay in the moment and not worry about the outcome, because the outcome, how many of you honestly remember the last 5 matches you played and how well they went or not? And how much does it really affect your life? You know? So stay in the moment. That's the point of, like, that's why it's so enjoyable. You can forget about all that crap in your life that's happening and just be there. That's my escape. That's why, like, when I play nowadays, I don't want to hit anymore. I used to want to hit because I was kind of concerned about the outcome of matches. Now it's my outlet to get away from all the text messages, and all the emails and all all the work you got to do and all the stress. I just want to play a match because in that moment, I am nowhere else. And it's my happy time. Even if I'm losing 6-0, it's my happy time. And if you start treating it like that, I think your matches will go a lot better. This one, it's kind of like, it's kind of a pun on it's not me, it's not you, it's me, kind of thing when you break up with someone. Well, I kind of thought of it as like it's like when it's not about you, me, okay? It's about my opponent. When you play really good tennis, you're being tactical, you're having strategies, you're thinking. And that's why it's fun to have a coach, because your coach is doing that for you, going, hey, looks like you're playing a lefty. Did you even know that? Oh my God, I was so into my backhand, I didn't even realize it. Well, that's why you're not playing well. So instead of thinking about me, like meaning yourself, think about, I would be thinking about you, meaning your opponent. So think about your opponent. What's your opponent doing in the warm up? Like, I played my best tennis actually in high school. I just loved it. I would like warm up. I played a lot of doubles until singles time, but I played a lot of doubles in the beginning. And I would like assess the player, and I would tell my partner and I would be on the same page. Okay, this player did this. So I was okay. We're gonna do this, and like, okay, that player's good. That player's not so good. Let's make sure we're focusing when this player serves, this player returns this place. All these things, and it made me not think of my forehand. It didn't make me think about anything but strategy. And that's kind of why we play games, right? We don't think of technique, right? Like, let's just think of like a board game, a chess, for example. You're playing chess. Chess is all about what you're doing to me and what I'm going to do to you. I'm not thinking about the technique of, I know this is ridiculous, but the technique of lifting my hand, picking up a pawn and moving it, right? I just do it. Well, that's the mindset you have to have when you play. Oh, I want the ball to go there. I don't care how, I'm not thinking about how the ball's going to get there. I'm just going to get the ball there, right? I'm not thinking about technique. That's automated. We're done with that in a match. We're not thinking of that. Greg Norman, one of the epic fails in I think it was the Masters, US Open, British Open, one of those big slams. He was up like 9 strokes or something like that in the last 18 holes, and he lost. And they asked him what he did at the end. He's like, well, I noticed that I was missing right, so I'd aim more left, and I was changing my technique in the middle. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing, man? When you start thinking of technique, things go bad. That's why when you're a beginner, you can't choke, guys. You ever think about that? A beginner player doesn't choke because they're just pushing the ball. You push when you're choking, but when you start hitting through the ball, like all of you are, when you hit through the ball and you're hitting, then you can choke because you got to hit through the ball and you got to trust your swing. You're not pushing anymore. And that takes courage. And when you start thinking of your technique, it goes to crap. So you got to really think about your opponent more. And that's a lot more fun that way. Okay. Sometimes, like, I learned this from a buddy of mine, Henrique from Brazil. I play him. I've never beaten this guy. He's really good. Um, And, I'd come close a few times. And even when I'm close to beating him, we have really good matches. He's smiling all the time. And I'm like stressed. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get this shot in. If I don't, and he's just like, bring it. This is so much fun, And he's like the kind of guy that's like, hey, Henrique, you want to go play basketball? Yeah, as long as we keep score. Like, you want to play cards? Yeah, what? Like, let's play for an outcome. I want to win. I want to play to win, right? It's just that desire to compete. So if you smile more, like think about being a child. Like when you first picked up a racket, were you thinking about winning and losing? I don't think so. Where's your inner child? Get your inner child back out and smile more on the court. You know, Lori, I know you're watching this, and I know this morning when we were in that drill and I saw you play, you missed three. I remember this vividly because I was watching you. I just watch people a few times, like see their demeanor and stuff, right? And you missed three balls in a row. And then the last ball, you smiled, and it was kind of like a forced smile. I get it, but you made a great ball after that. And it just like, I'm like, yeah, she's figuring it out. You know, you gotta not take yourself so seriously and you loosen up. Tennis is all about being loose and you gotta smile. Okay. All right. Let me ask you this real quick, and you can pause this if you're watching this. Otherwise, I'm going to rush this question. But think of your best coach you've ever had. Okay. The best coach it doesn't have to be tennis, by the way. It could be soccer, like this picture, could be football, softball. I don't care. Could be a teacher. Teachers are coaches. Could be a boss. If the boss is doing it right, they're a coach too. Right? And what did you like about them? What did they say to you? What did they do? Okay. Now I'm rushing this. It might take more time to think about this, but are you doing that with yourself, guys? It's ironic that you would say, okay, my favorite. Now everyone's different coach. Some people like to be cheered. Some people like a little bit more tactical information, whatever, right? I'm just going to make this up. But okay, my favorite coach was super positive and I never did anything wrong. They were always upbeat. They gave high energy. Okay, that was my favorite coach. Okay, great. What are you doing when you talk to yourself? Oh, when I talk to myself, oh, I'm berating myself. I yell at myself. I say how dumb I am. I'm waiting for me to make a mistake. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Do you see the disconnect here? You hire a coach to be positive, right? You're paying money for this coach, or your parents are when you were a kid, right? Yet you won't even do those things for free to yourself. That's a little effed up, if you don't mind me saying, right? And we all do it, right? So think about who your favorite coach is and be that to yourself. Okay. Whatever that is. Okay. This one is super important. It's connected to practice. So when you practice a lot of the wrong things, guess what's going to happen in a match? The wrong things. So if you never practice your mental game, you're like, okay, you go through this webinar and you're like, okay, I get it. Totally understand. I'm on it, Ben. I'm good. And you go on the ball machine and you're just hitting and you're like, God, I suck. God, what am I doing? And then you do a drill and you're hard on yourself and you're fortune telling, whatever. Excuse me. And then in a match, you're like, okay, I'm gonna be positive, and then you don't, and you wonder why. You don't practice it. And I'm not just saying practice it like in your drills and all that. Are you practicing it in your day-to-day life? How hard are you in your day-to-day life? All right. So you need to practice this mental game more than just your matches. Otherwise, it'll never happen. Okay. Next one. If you want to get more confident, everyone wants confidence. You can't just make it up. I know a lot of people may say that. I've tried it. I don't know if I can just be like, I'm going to be confident after I missed the last 10 balls in a row, right? So what you have to start thinking about is actions. No, you might be going into the mindset of, okay, I need to hit 1,000 forehands and all that. Yeah, that's going to build confidence. But you know what builds confidence for me? All the little things that make a good tennis player. So a short story on, you can look this up, but there was a British coach and he coached the cycling team decades ago. and they were the laughing stock of the Olympics. So like they were awful. And this coach came in, he's like, all right, I have an idea. We're going to write down everything we do, everything that's related to being a good cyclist, and we're gonna write it all down. Okay. So you gotta, okay, they got specific with the machine that they're riding, like it's got to be really good, right? There's certain things about the aerodynamics of it. All right, you got to have the body for it. You got to be able, but then they're like, well, you know what? I need to sleep better if I'm gonna compete, right? You know what? I should probably eat really well. A good cyclist would probably eat well. Like eating, nutrition's important, right? You know what? If my relationships are toxic, I'm probably not going to cycle very well. All right. So it got pretty deep, right? And then he's like, okay, we got all these things. Can we get 1% better in all these things every day? Just 1% better. Now that's hard to measure, right? But if you're 1% better, it adds up. And you know what else it adds up? To confidence. Because you are doing these little things that no one else is doing. And you have that as a feather in your hat going, I got this. A notch in your belt. You're like, I've done this. And like my opponent over there might have played 10 years longer than me. They might have had more instruction than me. But guess what? I'm fitter. I eat better, right? My mental game is strong. And you know what? This builds confidence. It's not just, yeah, you need to hit balls. Yes, you do. You need to play matches, but you need to do those small things. Actions build confidence. And you need to have practice matches, guys, to work on your game, to not be afraid of making mistakes so that you can build that. Okay, I made a mistake. It's okay. I can build that confidence up because the matches don't matter as much. If you're putting all your eggs in a basket of like, all right, I think this is going to go well. I don't know. And you just do a match and it matters so much to you, it's going to be tough, right? And then try to have practice matches with players that you can beat, ones that are 50-50, and the ones that are really good, that are hard to beat. So you have a mixture. You want to be confident, you want to be pushed, but you got to make sure there's a balance between those. Okay. All right. So, last tip is your filter. And I have a problem with this. I don't know if you guys do, but sometimes I will wake up with, and it's always related to me for sleep, usually. Could be other things. But then my day is filtered through negative. I don't realize it's a beautiful day. I realize my gas tank is low and I go, oh, I got to get gas now. Oh my gosh, right? Like these little things set me off. You know, I go to a stop sign and someone doesn't let me go. They go first and I should have went and like they go in front of me. What the heck? I should have went. And I forget about, the next stop sign and someone lets me go, right? I look at your people looking at me wrong, right? Okay, you get the idea. Okay. Now that transfers to tennis too. So if you're on a tennis match and you're filtering only negative, how awful is your tennis match going to be? Oh my gosh. First of all, we're all going to make mistakes. Novak Djokovic, just going back to him real quick, made 100 mistakes, 100 errors in a match, 100, and he still won the match. Do you think he was just thinking of all those 100 mistakes, or did you think he let them go and was a positive filter? So that's the other thing. Some days I wake up and everything's great and everything's looking good. I filter positively through the day. So you need to be careful about how you do that daily in your day-to-day life, because what you do in your day-to-day life, and I think teenagers are really hard, especially females, are really negative to themselves. How are you going to get on a tennis court and be positive? It's tough. So you got to be kind to yourself and look at things through a positive filter. When you text somebody and they don't text you back, maybe instead of thinking, oh, they hate me and they're ignoring me, maybe like, oh, they probably have something going on in their life, probably something busy. Yeah, that sounds normal. It's okay. Don't negatively filter everything, right? And then on the tennis match, don't wait for yourself to make a mistake to go, yeah, I knew it. I was going to make a mistake. You're going to make a mistake. Think about all the great shots you hit. Maybe you hit a 10-ball rally and then you end with a mistake. You were 90% successful. You hit 9 out of 10 balls in that point and lost the point. Wow, that's amazing. That's really freaking good. If I personally could do that every time, I'd probably be a professional tennis player. That's pretty damn good. Okay. So you have to start being positive, like, oh, I double faulted. Well, at least I went for the ball, you know? Or, like, all right, or I'm gonna ignore it and I'm gonna focus on the next. I'm gonna be good about it. Like, just be positive. Okay. All right. Last one. This is my bonus tip for you. I just saw this little mention of Yannick Sinner. I don't know if you know the guy, but he's like the up and comer, like the guy that's, him and a few other players are supposed to take the baton from the big three of like Novak Djokovic, and you got Roger Federer, and you got Rafael Nadal. You can throw Andy Murray. I guess he was kind of part of that for a while. But anyways, those guys are retiring or retired. And now these guys are coming in. And Yannick Sinner had a match a few days ago, and he was up 3-1. Okay. And he had a break point and against his opponent, Tsitsipas, and Tsitsipas double faulted. Stefanos is his first name. He double faulted. Yet the umpire did not call it out, and he ended up losing the point, Yannick Sinner, and he ended up losing the game. So instead of being up 4-1, it was 3-2. Okay. So is that a big deal or not? It's a huge deal in the pros, especially because it changes momentum. You can read the article yourself. I was just underlining a few things, right? But what he said was, hey, it happens. Okay, this is a professional tennis match. These are pros watching the line. So if he's saying we all make mistakes, I can make mistakes too. That's how it is. And that's the beauty of tennis. It's fun because momentum shifts and bad calls can shift the momentum and it makes it exciting and it's not so boring. Okay. Well, can you really complain about you hitting an ace and they call it out, right? And you knew it was in, but they called it out? It's their call. Let it go, right? Are you going to let balls on the other side affect you, or are you going to be humble enough to like let it go and play tennis and just let it go? Now there's a fine line being cheated often and going, okay, I saw that close, I noticed that ball was close, and then you can start calling that, verbally saying, hey, that's a problem. But we're talking about like letting one call get you. Come on. They're never going to lose by bad calls. You're going to lose by when the call is bad and you react badly to it. Okay? So that's something to remember. If the pros can do it, I think we can, because they got literally thousands of dollars on the line for these matches. We don't. We don't, right? Okay? So to recap everything, okay? I need you to start thinking about calling yourself out during a mental trap. Really call yourself out. Be a big boy, be a big girl, call yourself out. Be human. Give yourself permission to miss. Give empathy to your opponent, okay? Play with intention between points and during points, targets, routines. Think about today's tennis match is tomorrow's pass. It's not going to matter. What matters is the moment. Think about what your strategy is. Don't think about yourself. Think about your opponent, what they're doing, how you can change it. Okay. Smile more. If you smile more, you'll loosen up and enjoy the experience a little bit. Whoever your favorite coach is, be that coach. Whenever you want, like however you want to be mentally in a tennis match, you better be that in practice. You got to practice that. If you take care of all the small things that add up to being a good tennis player, that will build confidence. If you are having a positive daily filter, your filter on the tennis court will be positive as well. Be positive. Look for positivity. And understand tennis is hard. Never expect the wins or the losses. It's hard. Tennis is difficult. You could lose or win to anybody. Stay humble about it. All right. I would love to take any questions and any scenarios. Maybe it's something you personally go through or go, hey, I have a teammate, I have a player I'm I'm coaching that's dealing with this. Anybody have any questions? I'd love to answer it, but I hope that was helpful.
So Ben, this is Greg.
Yeah.
Just one thing that's happened to me in the past, and today we were talking about not just tennis but golf too. So I played golf for many years, and it kind of the same with tennis. You get out there, you're on the course, you're playing your best round ever. You get out, you're on the seventh hole, then all of a sudden you got to wait. You know, you got to wait for the people in front of you, and then they're taking forever, and then you flub a shot. He said, okay, that's okay. I can come back from it. And then you hit another one. Then you hit one in the woods. And then you triple bogey that hole. Then all of a sudden everything kind of goes downhill. And I think with tennis, if you're ahead in a match, let's just say you just won that first set 6-0, and then you start to falter a little bit. All of a sudden you're starting to question your backhand, like what's going on. And then you have too many things in your head to try to clear it. And that's what I feel sometimes kind of happens, and it's kind of hard to reset and then leave that stuff behind, like you said. And I think that you probably explained it well enough, but I know that's what's happened in the past. So
I'm one word for you to write down. One word. Okay. I know this is going to be like, all right, but like routine. You need to be like, so the professional golfers, you watch them miss a shot, right? The hard part about them is like we can't see what's going on in players' heads. That's the really difficult part about the mental game. We're like, okay, can you talk to us as you're playing so we know what you're doing, right? Right, so we can kind of understand. But I'm telling you, if you focus, like we can only focus on one thing. So that's why meditation is so important, because you can catch yourself. Meditation's like lifting weights. You're just getting your brain stronger so that when you realize you have extra time, you're on the seventh hole, right? And you're all this extra time. What are you doing with that time? You need to like call yourself out. Oh, that's not good. Okay, back to my routine. And what is that routine is really, really important. And you're not going like you'll see a player double fault in tennis, right? They didn't sweat at all, but they go to the towel, especially in Wimbledon. Wimbledon is such a mental game because points don't last quite as long, and it's a little bit more thinking than playing, right? It's emotionally taxing. So they have to use these points, this time between points, and they have to do it the same every time. Because if we can keep things consistent, then we know what our expectations will be, and we can kind of start going into our routine, like our brain. Like, you ever wonder why players in basketball do the same thing before they shoot a free throw? Because they're telling their brain, hey, we're doing a free throw right now. And your brain's like, oh, okay, let's focus on doing a free throw. Right. So, so like in golf, I would take some, if I have my routine, I'm just gonna reset and like say my routine is done. And I'm like, all right, what do I do now? Do it again. Do it again. And then when you miss a ball, that shouldn't like have you ever watched tennis highlights? Because that's the only thing I can watch nowadays. Like I binge on tennis highlights because I can't watch matches with my time right now. So if you watch them, I'd really encourage you to watch the other player who received the end of the amazing shot. There'll be a guy doing a tweener and he wins the point, right? Watch the other player. They'll smile maybe, but then they go back to it's just a point, right? Like you flop a ball, you hit a ball into the weeds. It's the same. It's the same shot. It's you have to understand that we can react to things good or bad. That is your decision. So when you are hitting a bad shot, it's your decision to call it bad. Instead, maybe you go, oh, I pulled up my head on that. Okay, something to do. I'll practice that. My next practice shot will be that. No big deal, right? But if you go, bad shot, bad shot, bad, this is bad. How is that going to how productive is that, right? So you just got to start observing yourself in a third person perspective and then keep the routines the same. So you'll see these players. I played Cannon over at Denver Tennis Park. He was playing so good. I was happy for him, to be honest, because it's nice to see your friend play well. He did a tweener again. He's never done a tweener, and he won the point. And I'm just like, you know what happened the next point? I won the point. Guess what happens? Now it's 1-1. I made the routine shot and I won the point. And he made the amazing shot and won the point. It's now 15 all. Right? They're both all worth the same. So how you react to them, like if I reacted like, oh my God, he's gonna do tweeners now. I gotta play so much better. But I just stayed level-headed and go, okay, if that's the way, I mean, great. If my opponent's hitting winners like that, I think I'm doing something right, to be honest. Don't you think? Like, if he's hitting low percentage shots and winning the point, I think I'm doing something right. I just have to stay the same course and I'm doing great. That's my mindset. Instead of going, oh, now I need to do better. No, he hit an amazing shot. I think I'm doing great. Right. So golf's a little different because you don't have anything affecting you. So you need to be third person perspective and be a good coach, but focus on those routines even more. So that's what I would do. So when you're like the worst thing you could do, I have a coach that Sean, we joke about this, but he's like, if you ever want to get someone off their game in tennis, like say you won 3-0 against me, Greg, right? It's 3-0. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's crushing it. I'm like, hey, Greg, you're playing really well. What's going on? And then all of a sudden, boom, you're not going to play well anymore. Right? Because now you've got yourself off to being into this other perspective. And now you're trying to analyze all this instead of just playing tennis. And that's where you got to catch yourself and then before you wreck yourself, honestly. Right? And that's the starting point. I don't know if that helped, but always stick with routine and try to be a robot between points. Nothing's too good, nothing's too bad. Just all the good players. They'll go and touch the fence between points. And they're just because they're resetting. I hit an ace, touch the fence. I double faulted, touch the fence. Then things become blended, and now you're just playing tennis, and one shot doesn't matter more than another. They're all equal, and they all should be treated equally. You can celebrate. You hit a great shot. Awesome. But it's still 15. It's just 15 love. It's not like you won a game worth of points for hitting an amazing shot. So just stay level-headed a little more, right? Okay. Hope that helped. Any other questions? Happy to take them. Eric, I see your phone's off mute. You have anything?
No, I learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Maybe one question for you. If your team is going to play maybe the future state champ tomorrow and we're all going and the expectations are really low, how do you motivate your team?
So you're telling me you have a team that is, you want to build a team that is low and get the expectations like that is not our expectation anymore. We need to build it up to this level.
No, it's just like my team is okay, but we're going to go at playing Cherry Creek tomorrow.
Got it.
And the expectations are
yep
a little bit low. So how can we go and have a good day and learn something and feel good about ourselves?
No, I mean, okay. There's different ways, depends on your audience.
Yes.
So you're coaching girls. So
yes.
I would focus on everything's going to be like if we're gonna go, like we had to go play Rock Canyon's a really good team too, like one of the best teams too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one thing is I want every girl to tell me what their silver lining is before the match. So I want you to go, okay, I want to split step between every point. I'm going to high five my partner, touch rackets between every shot.
Okay.
I'm going to work on getting my first serve in. anything that they can, I don't know about that last one as much because it's kind of like more outcome. I'm kind of like trying to get something that they can focus on that's in their control. I think
Mhm.
serving's a little better because it's the ball's literally in my hand. I can control the pace of my serve and try to get like maybe I take something off of it to get it in a little bit more, right? But mainly it's about like I'm going, and this could be weird, Eric, but I would say can you even say nice shot when your opponent hits a ball by you? That's
Mhm.
not easy to do. I
Yeah.
literally, I remember this. I said it 10 straight times to a kid that played for Yale, and I played with him a few years ago. 10 straight shots. I said, nice shot.
Mhm.
I was down 0-10 in a ground stroke game, and I ended up winning it.
Oh, great. Okay.
Because when you say nice shot, I know it's not always going to happen, right? But like when you say nice shot, it kind of lets it go and you're like, all right, if that's what it's going to be, you don't need to make it better. You just go, it's good enough. And like,
Yeah.
then the other thing you kind of go is like, Sarah, you just hit that ball and you said nice shot. That means you made your opponent have to hit a nice shot to beat you. That's
Mhm.
actually, you're doing something right. They're not going to say nice. You're not going to say nice shot when you hit the ball in the net. So if you're
Mhm.
saying nice shot, at least you're doing something right, right? Like you're
Yeah.
making them play, right? So I think it's
Right.
like everything's positive, and that's what I did in my drill today. I was working with doubles today, and I said, cut the BS of the negative. Like we're going to have 4 teams playing at a time in different drills, and I want you to always like congratulate your opponent for good shots and your teammate, they're your teammate, but your opponents right now. And when you're in the middle waiting for your turn, you're cheering everyone on.
Mhm.
And like we're waiting for opportunities to like say nice hustle, good try, and we're never going to have bad body language. Can you control that? That would be a huge win, right? So Eric, you could be like, I'm going to go up to you in 3 games. I'll just keep going with Sarah. I'm going to go in 3 games, Sarah. I want to look at you. Actually, I'm going to have so and so come over here, a teammate of yours, and she's going to watch you. And I'm going to ask her, because I'm coaching her, I can't watch you the whole time. I'm going to ask her if she can tell if you're winning or losing right now. If she
Mhm.
says, Coach, I can't tell, you're doing it right. But if she's
Good.
like, yeah, it's pretty obvious you're losing, that means your body language is poor, and you're probably saying some pretty awful things to yourself, right? So these are the things they can control. And then they're going to start playing better too, instead of thinking about the outcome and like, hey, it's like going to the casino and they're giving free money. What are you going to do with
Mhm.
it? Let's let it ride. Right? You're not, there should be zero expectations on the outcome and it should be a
Mhm.
lot of fun. So positive silver linings and good body posture, things they can control is what I would do. If I'm playing a really good player, that is so hard to do, like Eric, you're gonna go play, like say you're gonna play one of the club pros at Parker Racket Club, right? Someone who's really good, but you get a chance to
Mhm.
play him.
Yeah.
You could probably play really good tennis if you're like, I have nothing to lose, right?
Mhm.
But if you're like, I got to play my best because I want to beat them, well, beating them is off the table.
Yeah.
It's off the table. Let's not
Mhm.
even worry about that because even if you do win, it's out of your control anyways. What's meant to be is meant to be. So when you stop thinking about winning, don't you play really well? I have
Mhm.
like 4 guys that want to play me. Ones like we'll do a drill, like I do lessons with them, and then like we'll play out points. And I'm like, dude, why aren't you playing like this all the time?
Mhm.
Because they're just letting it go. They're like, doesn't matter. I'm supposed to lose. Why not? Right. So I don't know if you want to use the losing and winning because that's not the point. The point is when you don't think about the outcome, you play really well. And that's where you got to get your team to play that type of mindset when they're playing a team worse than them too. Because
Mhm.
that's where you get into those mental traps way more, I think. When you're playing someone, you're like, all right, the last team in the conference, this should be easy. And then you're down 0-3 and you're like, oh my God,
Mhm.
I should, then
Right.
like when the match doesn't matter, the outcome doesn't matter, then and you play freely, you should be able to play well against anybody and
Right.
understand tennis is hard and just stay humble.
Mhm.
Okay. I
Okay.
hope that
Thanks,
helped
man.
a little bit.
Thank you. Yeah, it
It's not
does. Thank
easy.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Cynthia, I know I haven't heard from you. Just want to make sure you have any questions on what I've said. Maybe not. Oh, yeah.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, cool. I hope it was helpful. I love you guys joining because it like I would never have thought of these things. The questions you came up with were awesome, and it helps me become a better coach because I'm going to take some notes too on what you guys asked. All right, but take it back. You know me. I would love to hear from you. You know, Cynthia, you have a match tomorrow. I know. I want to hear from you. How did it go? Eric, let's hear about like how that coaching went. Right, like tomorrow against Creek. You know, see
Will
if
do.
everything, like you got some smiling faces. I think you did right. You did it right.
Mhm.
You know? No one's going pro. Right. And then Greg and Lori, I want to hear how you guys have been playing league matches. Like, you know, you're going to have struggles, but at least like you want to start enjoying it more. Lori, we've been working together and you're enjoying tennis a little bit more, I feel. And that's the important thing, right? Like we got to get over these mental hurdles so we can enjoy it and kind of get off our high horse thinking that, you know, it's all or nothing, or, you know, we're in the fortune telling, or we shoulda thing, and we enjoy it more. Okay. That's what we're here for. So I will be sharing more of these kinds of, I'm going to do some double strategies, some single strategies, kind of like dig into more of those type of topics in the future. So I'll be broadcasting those. But again, I really appreciate you guys being here, and we'll be in touch. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Bye.